Yo, what is up, everyone? It's your boy Drew here doing a late night impromptu chat here with the boy Machine Lies. Say what's up, man.
What's going on, everybody? It's the Machine Lies up in the motherfucking building. Talking about how the machine lies. On the machine that's lying to you right now. You know what I mean?
Right there, bam. Yeah, we've crossed paths in these panels. We were just doing a panel on the backup channel, so if you're not subscribed, make sure you go subscribe to the backup channel. Get chalked up, but it gets too hectic on the panel. There's too many people to kind of flesh out a lot of ideas. I think and I like what the encounters we've had. I feel like I can tell a lot of stuff, so I thought it'd be interesting to kind of just get you one on one for a little bit and just chop it up.
Thank you, friend, man. Yeah. I like the work that you've been doing a lot. Talking about kind of a meta truther scenario, a meta crisis within truther scenarios or whatever, where there's kind of like this auto hoax like type of situation going on within the truther community itself. And I've been getting into some of that, and the real way I discovered y'all was almost through Davy Crocco's work.
Shout
And I
out
was
to David
actually
Crocco.
I was actually watching some of his videos and stuff, and I hopped up in his Discord and stuff, and that's when I seen he was hopping on you guys' show, and yeah,
Yeah, man. Rest in peace, Davy Crocco, man.
rest in
He had a
peace.
lot of connections out there, man. So a lot of people knew
Yeah,
him. Um, yeah.
yeah, I
So what?
remember.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I just remember checking him out on um on um on the Adam Green show, and then they were talking about the QAnon conspiracies, and that's when everything became kind of weird for me, where they were talking about how there was like this crazy phenomenon where of like fake news and like psyops and stuff like that. And that's really when I got into a lot of weird stuff, started making videos and stuff, like almost 2 years ago, on philosophy, trying to get the young people into like more critical thinking. So yeah.
Yeah, it's a big problem out here that they got like it's cool to be a dunce and like schoolwork and all this shit is like you're a nerd. That's no, you're only cool if you're like rapping or chasing pussy or something like that. Like it's a big problem, man. Have you lived in the United States your whole life?
No, I was actually born in Pakistan, and yeah, I mean it's pretty crazy out there, but one of the things they did have is kind of like a sort of religious or like a family type of thing. I see like even the Pakistani people that live in America, they have a kind of a I wouldn't say Pakistani people are particularly religious, but I think they do follow certain religious and cultural traditions within the family context. So I think like that's what's interesting, is like when you see like certain third world people, they're almost more in sync with reality because of their cultural traditions, but then they really take life for granted out here. They really aspire to American living, so they really get fucked over the worst by the culture and shit, because they get on the internet because their idea of what America is a total fucking fantasy. So they just like,
What do they think it is? They think it's like the American exceptionalism, like that concept from the like the 50s or something.
they think like you could like come here and like make a business, like become a millionaire, and like they think a lot of that has to do with like how much schooling you get, and they think like this is the place to like go to school. But it really, I mean, if you go to like Eastern Europe and shit, like the schools are like fantastic. Like if you go to like Finland and shit, like all the people have like straight A's and shit. Like and they don't even give them tests and shit. So
Yeah, here it's
like
like the college. Obviously, it's all that woke bullshit now, but like it's just like kids go there to party and have sex and stuff like that. It's like a degenerate
yeah,
hotbed there.
Yeah,
for
that
the
was
most
another
part.
thing that fucked me up was that I was a college dropout. You know, I was up in the university hardcore studying philosophy
In America here?
yeah, up at U of M. And then my philosophy professor there, whose name is
What's U of M, Michigan?
yeah, yeah.
To
Uh,
me, it's
uh
U of Minnesota, that's why, but most people don't
yeah,
go to
yeah,
Minnesota.
yeah,
So that's where
yeah,
you got into
Minnesota.
all the philosophy and everything?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's where I met Dr. David Skirbina, who was like really my philosophy teacher. But when he was at the university, like he used to talk about like conspiracies and stuff and like all this stuff. Like he used to like eat dinner with like Cynthia McKinney
Oh, yeah, I
and
know
like
her.
yeah, and write like letters to the Unabomber and stuff, and so he was like hip on like all these conspiracies and stuff. He would show like videos of like 9/11 and stuff, and he even had somebody who made a 9/11 video come and speak to the class. This guy, I think his name was David Hooper or something like that. This guy made a video. I think it was like one of the first videos that came out that was talking about
It wasn't loose
uh
change, was it? I thought
no, it wasn't loose change, but it was talk about that stuff that they had in the towers that was like
like the thermite
aluminum. Yeah,
the thermite shit.
yeah, the thermite, yeah. So he was talking about the thermite theory in the class, and then my philosophy professor, Dr. Skirbina, actually told the class that it's like really easy to like make thermite, and he like described the
Damn,
process of like how to make thermite, like how you could basically make thermite in the like in your garage. It's like two fucking ingredients to it. You just like heat up aluminum and shit.
damn.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
sounds pretty cool though, like, cool introduction to is that then that's did you start going down, like, those types of rabbit holes and everything then?
Well, well, I went to go study philosophy with him in Greece, and he
Oh,
was
really?
an anti. Yeah. The type of philosophy he taught was interesting because he taught like technology. You know, like philosophy of technology. So he was dealing with like the process of creativity, like how the mind works. Because if you make like if you create a machine, you know, the machine is a physical process, but the creation of the machine is a mental, total immaterial process. So it's a whole philosophy about how those two things interact with each other, and like how you like materialize the process of creation, and that's like really what technology really is. So there was like this whole fucking so I thought like, man, like the world's going crazy because of technology. You know, it's like everybody's on like, you know, social media. My first impulse was like everybody's like using the cell phone. I thought cell phones were like evil.
The black
Uh,
scrying mirror and shit.
yeah, yeah, because it's like in Plato where like he's like talking about like the cave and shit. How they make like symbols, they make like fake symbols on the screen, and they chain these people up and they make them think the fucking symbols are real. And and that's kind of like what I thought of the cell phone. I was like, yo, it's like flickering shadows on a screen, and it's pictures of shit that's not even real. You know, you know, it's representations of things that aren't even real. So
Right, I
it's
know. That's what, like, EBT likes to talk about, like, it's not you're not really hearing my voice, it's a synthesis of my voice, synthesized, and, like, it's not
yeah,
even a video, right? It's, like, thousands of still pictures, like, simultaneously. You're not
yeah.
seeing, like, the real so then I don't think I really have this idea fully fleshed out yet, but kind of where I'm at kind of like the totality of all the stuff I've learned and thinking. Tell me what you think about something like this. Like to me, it seems like ultimately it's like a battle. Well, obviously, there's like a spiritual battle of good and evil and everything like that, but it seems like it's a battle of like technology versus biology that's kind of playing out. And like the biology is its own technology. It's just like the far superior technology, but then the man-made technologies desperately trying to to mimic and catch up to that and surpass it. That's what it ultimately wants, to surpass the man-made, or the, yeah, like the natural biology.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm going more into the Gibson the Gibsonian kind of universe, because you know, William Gibson had this idea that like actually there wouldn't be a clean break between humans and technology, the way the creators of AI like Marvin Minsky think there's going to be a straight evolutionary break between humans and machines, that basically human beings are just going to be cleaning up monkey shit in the zoo, and the machines are going to be running the society. But 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 in the work of William Gibson, he kind of envisioned that technology and humans would just become kind of enmeshed instead. And I see this kind of more realistic scenario where like they're just going to use like different forms of biology and like hijack or piggyback on forms of shit that's already alive. And I think the top thing they're gonna use is like fungus or some shit, because you already see them like looking at like fungus and like slime molds, and like using I saw like videos where they looked at how a slime mold like navigates through like a subway system, and it was able to find like the quickest way there, like faster than like a whole team of like fucking engineers and shit. So they're like, all they got to do is put a fucking attach a chip to a fucking slime mold, so you won't have like a chip that's alive. It'll just be like a fucking combination of biology and machine, you know, which Gibson said was like a concept he called post-human, you know. So you see like Days of Noah and other people talking about this concept post-human, you know, and that's kind of where it comes from. It comes from the work of William Gibson, you know, who actually coined the term cyberspace. He's most popular for coining the term cyberspace.
Yeah, and shout out to Days of Noah, like he's always putting in work out there.
Yeah, he did
Yeah, that
make a
remind.
lot
I
of
have this
shit.
book. I'm desperately trying to think of the name of it right now, but I have it. I should go grab it. But it talks about like mycelium, like the mushroom and the fungi, basically what you were saying, and how that's all interconnected underground and communicating at all times, like simultaneously. Like it's a crazy read, man. Like I haven't even really gone through it all, but that's what it reminded me, what you're talking about. And
Yeah.
so you're saying that, what is it called, Gibsonism? That's they want to chip actually the slime instead of
Well,
the
w-
human.
yeah, I think it's something like the science fiction writer like William Gibson would like talk about, like combining biology with technology instead of there being like some kind of clean break.
Right,
He kind
like a
of,
Neuralink too, though.
oh yeah, yeah, he used to talk about stuff like that. Like I think he wrote the movie Johnny Mnemonic, you know.
Yeah, I've heard of it. I've never seen it.
Yeah, he wrote that movie, and basically it's about like a dude who has like a computer in his head, and he's got to like transmit information that's stolen by these computer hackers, but like he's got like too much data in his head, and he's kind of like tripping out. He's like having seizures and shit because of the data and shit. So he's kind of like so kind of like he already came up with these concepts, and really the fucked up thing is that you know when they first made like the concept of cybernetics, it was actually a concept of like how the mind works. So it was like a concept of like how a biological organism interfaces with its environment. So that was how they conceived of how computers would interface with the world of like information. So they thought of like like so like when they funded research into like computers, like before they even thought of like creating the internet or like a point and click like computer system, they had already thought of making a fucking AI system. I think I have a book by Stuart Brand on the MIT where they created the internet. And even in the 80s, DARPA was funding like research into artificial intelligence in the early 80s. When yeah.
What's interesting to me is when you say like the we created the human, or we created the computer interface based on like the human thing. So that again to me is like another biology versus technology thing, where it would be like we're made in the image of God, right? But we would be as far below God as like a computer interface is to us. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting because like these cats who like want to create like technology as the next stage of like human evolution, they don't see us as something that came from God. They think of us as something that like came from like something that washed up on the ocean floor. And p- um and that's the problem with a lot of this, is that they don't really actually have a sane process in which they actually think like things are connected in some sort of a holy plan. So they might be funneling some sort of energy in the wrong place when they're trying to summon something like this. I know like one dude was was Nick Bostrom, and he was talking about how like the AI is like actually based on the golem, because they make like this like this like thing it's about like bringing like dead matter to life. It's like the basic concept.
That's funny that you asked that. My next question to you was going to be, do you believe in demons?
Yeah, yeah,
Then
I certainly do believe in demons.
do you believe like that there's demonic intelligence behind the thoughts that people get to create these things, or even inside of the machines itself?
I just think like even before that, it's interesting because you could philosophically just pose a question about innovation itself. Because anybody who's being guided by innovation or like knowledge for the sake of knowledge is not really bound to any ethical constraint. So I think like somebody who's just like trying to create something or create anything or have something fill the void of creativity once they make something that can create for itself, like I think that that's particularly deranged in a way, or like the impulse to do that might be like something for sure demonic,
Yeah, and that's what I see when I look out at all these apps nowadays, like TikTok, or I mean, name an app basically. And now, especially with the generative AI, is I see this huge trend of technology removing the creativity from the human being. So even with like TikTok, you barely have to do anything, and the app does everything to make it look cool for you. And the generative AI, it's gonna write the paper for you. It's gonna draw the picture for you and everything like that. So to me, it's like the creative process of the human being is such an integral part of being human. It's creativity, and they're slowly trying to like keep that dormant in the human being by putting this phone in your hand, and then the phone just does every single thing for you. You don't even have to create anymore. You just like you're allegorically like the Neo in the pod or whatever, right? You're just sitting there on the phone clicking and swiping all day. That's what it seems
yeah
like
then
to me. That's why I feel like there's like an evil, ultimately like an evil presence behind the technology, and not like, I mean, I have it, I'm on it all day too and everything, but it seems to me like it obviously can be a tool for good, but a lot of it, the undertones of it seem evil.
Yeah, I think like one of the new age scientists, I think his name was like Rupert Sheldrake or whatever. He did like this um I thought dude was kind of sketch because of some of his religious ideas. And then and he also works for the British Royal Society, I think. So I think that's kind of sketch. So I didn't really trust the dude too much. But one of the things he really he did an experiment of these people being watched behind a glass screen, and essentially they had to like take notes on a notepad of like how many times somebody behind a glass screen was staring at them. So they just like make a little mark on a piece of paper when they think the person's looking at them behind this screen. And it was and so he found that beyond a statistical probability, people could like tell when they're being looked at. And I think that
You can feel it.
there yeah, I think there is some truth to that, that like when there's eyes on you all the time, or like like when somebody's watching you through your cell phone, fucking behave differently, thing. And
You were a robot,
and I
and you
think
like break.
where
You were
that
breaking up
goes
pretty bad
is
right
that
there.
everybody kind of,
Sorry, you were breaking up
yeah,
pretty bad right there. Kind of cut out. So you were
yeah,
saying like when
hopefully I
there's
don't.
eyeballs on somebody, what?
Yeah, just saying that when there's eyeballs on somebody, it kind of changes the way they behave. When somebody knows that they're being watched, they kind of, in a way, they MK Ultra themselves into like, making a false persona. And you see that a lot on the internet. You see that everybody has like a fake name, like there's some kind of rapper or some shit, and then they kind of start behaving like that false personality. So people are like real life actors, where there's this kind of dualism between their social media persona, and then it's setting people up to kind of like where people kind of keep rebranding themselves. And people are the I think there is some truth to the fact that when you communicate on a fucking cell phone, you sound different to where you talk on the phone. You sound different to where you talk in person. You sound fucking different, because it's like you plus the cell phone that's talking, or you plus like the keyboard that's talking to a certain extent. So you kind of MK Ultra yourself by 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 having this dualism.
Right, that's another thing actually Days of Noah talked about too, was even creating the panopticon from the when the baby's in the crib. Like the baby knows the monitor's watching them. They're not even able to consciously, be aware of that, but then they know that a lot of these monitors, they can talk to the mom or whatever. As soon as they cry, the mom's gonna hear it or whatever and come in there. And it creates that situation now from the womb, or from birth, I should say, for these kids to just be like trained to be in this society being watched 24/7. That's definitely where it's going if it's not already there. I believe it is, even especially with the phone, right? The phone's just got literally tracks everything that you do. I mean, in
Yeah, it's
with
funny.
Facebook, you had even Facebook, they created this system for you to voluntarily hand over all the information about you, who your friends are, what you do, where you go eat, everything like that. So then they build that profile on you, and that's what it seems like to me, is the big data is the new like multinational, like nation states or whatever, the big data, because they like have all the power, they have all the data, and they want it all concentrated all inside of their app now. And then you can't even like
Yeah.
search through Google anymore to find it because it's all within the app. Like you got to be on their app. And to me it's pretty obvious that they're just creating like predictive systems on each person to know what each person would do. And I felt like that was a big part of the COVID, when they rolled that out. I think they were testing those. Obviously, it's multifaceted. There's tons of things they did, but a big part of it was to test their predictive systems of each person, because that's why it was like so hot and cold, start and stop, always a new thing, and then pull it back and everything. They're probably like readjusting their parameters to see, just how accurate they are in a like a live scenario.
Yeah, I think it's funny that you mentioned the panopticon, because in the panopticon, he also says like the children's games for amusement would be made to like power up the city. So so he said like like basically like the children's merry-go-round would be like a hamster wheel, like creating like electrical power and shit. So people would like be like kind of self-feeding into the system and shit. And I think the guy who made it is called Jeremy Bentham, and the dude was really fucked up. He was like actually a spy for the British government, and like fucking wrote all these manuals against against the Christian way of life and shit. He promoted pederasty and like masturbation and stuff. He wrote like all these like pamphlets on like sexual rights and stuff, and like promoted things like pederasty, in lieu of like uh, uh, um I guess complete hedonism that he based on his like I guess his kind of like materialism or empiricism that he espoused. So it's crazy. It's
That's
like,
where it seems like it's going. Like the degeneracy is going in a straight like downhill path towards stuff like that. Like you got trans kids now, for fuck's sake. like socially accepted mains. You go to Target, they have the tuck underwear for the little 5-year-old boy and everything. It's like literally insane at this point. I don't know. What's your thoughts on like stuff like that? Like the sort of the fall of the West, I guess, falling into all that stuff.
well, I think it's interesting from a lot of different perspectives. Being somebody who's a Muslim, I think it's very interesting because I was talking to somebody who's an anthropologist yesterday, and they actually don't look at kind of Muslim societies, and they were actually a Christian person themselves, but they were remarking on the fact that there's some sort of colonial development that has eroded the cultural fabric of most of the old traditions of the world. And I think that one of the main systems in the world that's kind of eroded like the cultural fabric is like liberalism for sure. But I think that what causes the impetus for liberalism is really a dialectic between science and religion that I think is like a false dialectic, that like people try to pin science against religion when these two things are like in history are pretty much linked. And then on the other end, I think that uh, there's kind of like a weird fascination with with um with the promotion of technology that I think is like eroding cultural traditions, because people want to talk about how there's going to be like this big world crisis or like a world government put in place, but there's really already a world system in place, because there's fucking fiber optic cables that are reaching under the ocean that are connecting the fucking internet all around the world and shit. And if that shit goes out, then there is going to be a world crisis. So there is an international system in place because there's a world trade, and and I think that America. Really, when I study American society, I really admire America in a lot of ways. I consider myself American for real. But yeah, but yeah, I'm surprised how much the people in this country don't know about the Constitution. And I think just going back to the Constitution, or just the values of just like Plato and Aristotle, that like the founding fathers believed in. I think just that would do people a lot of good than just focusing on the kind of mundane kind of details that they're being forced to focus on. And I do think that uh, there is like an agenda being pushed on the whole, but I do think it's an agenda against religion, because they got to get rid of religion first. So I think that's a strong.
Yeah, I agree with that totally. Like I see it firsthand when I don't know how old you are. I'm 44 years old, and when I was growing up, there was like a picture of Jesus in like everyone's house. You go play at your friend's house, there was a picture of Jesus. Now you go in people's house, like almost no one has a picture of Jesus, and it's just like the way the world was back then versus how it is today. And they slowly can remove the religion from the society. I think you see how bad it can be. We're not even all the way there yet, I don't think.
Yeah, I think like that's what was crazy when I came here from Pakistan, because when I came here from Pakistan, we moved to Taylor, Michigan. And Taylor's like right, like maybe like 20 minutes away from Detroit, and they call it Taylor Tucky because like a bunch of hillbillies live there that like moved from the south to the north to work in the Ford factory and shit. So our neighbors were like a bunch of meth heads that would like stay up and fight all the time and like drink all the time. And we were like little immigrants, like, oh, like how do you find the convenience and my dad didn't know how to talk to these people. And I think really what it was when I saw myself, I think it was really 9/11 when I really saw, because at the time I was going to an Islamic school, and the school had gotten was actually attached to a mosque, and it had gotten a bomb threat at the school. So like,
Like the
I
same
mean,
day?
yeah, like the same day. So I was like, oh shit, like here I am, trying to be like as American as possible, like listening to Slim Shady and like all this type of stuff. And like, if you're a brown kid growing up in America, you don't know if you're black or white, it's like fucking confusion about that shit too. And then basically there's like a fucking bomb threat. And that's when I kind of started to like wonder, like, because I seen on the news like all these stories about Islam and shit. And that's when I really started to wonder like where I came from and like what the deal is with like Islam and all that shit. I started to read about like religion, and I started to read the Bible. And for real, I studied the Bible ever since then. And yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think to me the world definitely needs like people that believe in God, right? That's going to give you at least some foundation to have like a morality or something like that. I feel like, and then what I see out here in YouTube lately, we've been interacting with a lot of these like Gnosticism people and stuff like that. They just kind of like pick and choose from whatever the parts they want from different like scriptures or ideologies and stuff like that. And it's just it seems so incohesive. And at one time, I even believed in that type of thinking and stuff like that back in the day, And now I've gotten away from that, and I can see the allure and attraction of it and everything like that. But at the end of the day, I just don't think that that's where people need to be. They need to be understanding that there is a God and it's outside of yourself. And then a lot of this new age shit I see, it's like you are the God. That's what it seems like they're pushing.
Yeah, and I do think that that belief is heavily derived from Gnosticism, because they have this kind of belief that um uh, you know I guess Eric Vogelin was a thinker who was writing about Gnosticism at an early stage during the occult revival. And he said that they have this concept where they try to eminentize the eschaton, which is they try to pull the future into the past, through this concept called eminence. And they want as much to take the future and to implant it into the now. So they're all about the now, but they're also all about this concept of change, changing things in the now to become like this kind of utopian framework. And that's kind of their kind of impetus. I read like in the Hermetic Corpus, that like they had like this principle. They said there's only two things in existence: what comes to be, and what creates it. And I thought, whoa, there's no stable ground there. There's creating, and then there's coming to be. There's like no like ground, like to the whole fucking like it's always recreating itself. And that's why they're always talking about like co-creating and evolution and stuff, because it's basically like the rug being pulled out from under its feet. Because like if you believe in fucking progress, all the fuck you believe in is progress, then like where you are going to get to is going to be better than where it is now. But where the fuck you are now is never good enough. So like you're never gonna get there. You know what I mean, right? So it's this
Right.
Hegelian like framework where like it's like constant improvement, but improvement to what and for what? You know what I mean? You know, where like they have no purpose. There's no sense of purpose there, and like this teleological like pull or whatever, this evolutionary pull is not the same thing as purpose. Or like I think like I guess futurism is not the same as like believing in like a destiny. I think destiny has to do with like it was already decided back then, whereas like future is like something that you're creating in the spot right now. You know what I mean?
Right. It's more like abstract. When,
Yeah.
well, the future, it looks to me when I look at these like the ruling class, elite, whatever you want to call them, it seems to me they definitely have like very long term plans. And it's like, I don't know how long it is, but it's pretty obvious. I would say over 100 years, but I'm sure they have the next 50 years like fairly mapped out. And they give you hints of that, Agenda 2030 and everything like that, where they want to be and everything. It seems weird to me though that like for humanity or at least nations, they don't even have like the populace on like 100-year plan from the government. Here's where we want to be in 100 years. We want to be, one of the whatever main exporter of this X, Y, and Z or whatever. It's going to improve our whole nation or something like that. And would give like the working class like something to work forward to, like for their own kids and everything like that. If they knew there was some 100-year plan or something like that for their own thing. That's just something I've been kind of thinking about lately. I don't know why they don't have anything like that out here for the. It's just like maybe intentionally they just want you to feel so hopeless, like you're just stuck in the dead end job and everything like that, and just kind of crush your spirit or something that way, maybe. Yeah, Stephen David says it's crazy. 100 years ago now was 1920. I've been listening to a lot of like 1930s music on YouTube lately. Like it's tight. Everyone could sing. Like the instruments and everything it's all pretty tight. And that had me thinking too. Like recently, like the atomic age. That had to be one of the peaks maybe of at least America. Like the atomic age before they brought in all the other like what came next. The hippies and drugs and everything, I guess, and the free love and everything like that. Everything started to go downhill after that. People are so like rose-colored glasses about the 80s, but I think you'd have to go back even further than that if you wanted to have like real like American exceptionalism or whatever.
Yeah, I think really the weird thing about America is that it like combines these two elements which are really weird, and it's like America's like all about like innovation on the one end and about like new discovery and shit and enterprise, and you think of like the Star Trek Enterprise on the one end, but then you think of like the fucking you think of like also a weird religious conscience that's fundamental to America that really can't be taken out of the equation at this point. That there's a kind of a low level religious conscience there. And I think that now that everybody's a kind of secular person, or more or less, people don't think that there's forces within nature that are divine, that are taking care of humanity in any way, but it's just science and technology and other people that are managing all of our affairs for us. And then there's this complete secularism and materialism in the way people conceive of their well-being, that now the next deception is going to be a religious deception. And I think that it's going to be something like, I can only foresee like the combination of like a priest and like a doctor or some shit. You know what I mean? Like some kind of fucking like
That's that's the stated goal, isn't it? It's like a one world religion, basically.
yeah. And you
If you
see,
want to go that
this kind
route.
of thing, like where like people, where like they keep talking about a mental health crisis, and then that's going to come to fruition with like, and then they're also promoting like psychedelics. So I think like it'll be like something where like the doctor is also like somebody who like takes care of your spiritual health by like giving you psychedelics or some shit, and that's going to be like some
Yeah, isn't that's like Peter Thiel's new thing, right? Is like mushroom, like
yeah,
medical
yeah.
mushrooms.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean Peter Thiel, I mean, you know, I mean he's keeping us on the internet here, so I mean God bless him, but but you know, I mean the thing is that he's an influential figure, and you know he's like, going back to what you said, like how like they like made Facebook, and like Facebook was first like LifeLog or whatever, like funded by DARPA and stuff, and then later they found out that like Cambridge Analytica is like using it to like find all this information on people and stuff. And if you look at like these multinational corporations, like that's kind of like another thing that you were saying that was that kind of rung to me as true. Like you were saying, like multinational corporations instead of governments, and that's another thing that Gibson predicted. He said like these multinational corporations would be like pseudo governmental entities, like these nonprofit organizations would be like running, would actually be more powerful than like world governments. And I really do think like Cambridge Analytica and like these data, um, people are like more powerful than the government. I think it was like somebody pointed out that like the the Cambridge Analytica was ran by like Michael Chertoff, and he like did like the 9/11 like commission report too. It's like a weird,
Really.
yeah, it's like a
What do
weird.
you think? You got any like ideas about what that 9/11 was really about? Like, I mean, obviously it's about many, many things, but
I mean, I think it's really about like moving the world into geopolitics. And I think what they wanted to do was bring some of the Muslim world into the international framework, because they had like documents like the Clash of Civilizations, like at the Council of Foreign Relations, that they were writing and stuff, and they're basically just trying to bring Islam into the fold of modernism. And they basically use the Saudi government and stuff to do this stuff, because a lot of the terrorist organizations were like funded by the West and Israel in order to spy on Muslims. So I feel like a lot of I feel like it's weird because like there's this war on terror, but like Muslims just killed a bunch of other Muslims. It was like fucking it was like fucking weird. So like I think that's what it really was, because if you go back to like Zbigniew Brzezinski and shit, like he already wrote like reports at like the Trilateral Commission about like funding the Taliban and stuff, and they were aligned with Russia. It's weird that the West is like against Russia, but in this one war, in the war on terror, they were like aligned with Russia. It's like the one time where
right.
like NATO and Russia were just like aligned. So I think like really what it's about like global control, and about certain countries like Pakistan and stuff, because like the Pakistan is an interesting case, because they're like because they lost like the majority of the lives in the war on terror, and they're not even involved like they're not they're not Afghanistan or the US. You know what I mean? And
Right.
they lost like the most lives just through like collateral shit. So I think that it's interesting that it was a full scale like international conflict, but I think that that was organized on purpose, you know. um
One of the facets of it then too was to create the like the boogeyman terrorist, and more draconian laws can be put in place, and then here in America, more militarized police and everything. That was the catalyst for a lot of the militarization of police and everything like that. And now that's it's been 20 years now. I think the next thing we'll see. Tell me what you think about this. Is I think you'll see some type of like false flag that will be blamed on AI. I think they want to bring in a lot of new legislation as far as AI goes, but they'll need like a catalyst to bring that in. So that I feel like they're already giving you this boogeyman as the AI, just like the predictive programming in the movies had like Muslim terrorists in the 80s and everything. So now they're giving you the boogeyman AI, and then stock market crash or whatever it may be. I don't know. Then they can just say, "Oh, it was this evil AI or rogue AI, I should say," and then whatever, because it does seem like they want to pass a lot of new legislation as far as AI.
Yeah, I do see like a sort of like a good cop, bad cop, like controlled opposition scenario developing with the AI, especially the recent hearing they had with the dude where he walked up and he said we need more regulation because of ethics. And that seemed like the main thing because I seen a video recently called AI Wars, where they're talking about AI ethics. And this does seem like a way where they could exploit the purpose of AI, where they're also talking about open systems where people are developing the thing and they're having this kind of like arms race against open source. And I do think that they'll have like a battle, good AI versus bad AI battle, where like
Yeah.
either the company, and I think it'll be to fool the public. It'll be that the open AI system is the good one, the one that the public develop. And then because I already see this narrative cropping up in the videos where you see the AI battle, and it seemed like all these people are like these Russian cats, and they're like, and they're basically like, I'm describing this scenario where like the evil corporations are trying to like outperform like the open source people, and the open source are trying to make like the good AI system. And I
Like
already see like
Elon Musk is already talking about making like the quote unquote good AI and everything. So
yeah.
another iron in the fire for Elon Musk besides all the other ones he's got now. He's getting into the AI.
Yeah, and I also see that situation having religious connotations because they are talking about godlike or powers or whatever being unlocked within the AI or something, or evolution coming to fruition with this AI system. So then I see that they might have some sort of battle between the good AI and the bad AI, kind of frame it as a fucking apocalyptic a battle of like where they say that one of the AIs that defeats the other AI is the Christ AI, and then people start worshiping this computer system where it's actually the fucking Antichrist or some shit.
That's literally what Google stated, right? They want to create an oracle basically where you ask Google
Yeah,
one question, you get one answer. There's not millions of results. It's the one answer. That's what they want to do. Yeah, and then
yeah,
at that point it's an oracle and it's in your home. You just ask it,
yeah. I
okay,
thought
Google,
about
whatever.
Yeah, I thought about doing like a theory fiction on my channel where like where like they have like a good versus bad AI battle, and it's like a battle of revelations, but it's all staged, and then make like a fake Christ AI, and then people start worshiping it because it defeated like the bad AI, and then like yeah, I
If
don't
they
know.
give us the generative AI that they give to the consumer at this point, to me that shows they've had that behind like a militarized private one for 20, 30 years, I would say at least, right? So I think a lot of these scripts you see played out on the world stage probably are there probably is like an AI controlling most of it that will show you and then they along with what they call your digital voodoo doll, your predictive analytics from everything you put in. They can plot these moves in an AI and project out what everyone's going to do to pretty good accuracy and know which move to play next to get you to where you want to go. So I think that's already been in play probably for a long time. People can't even imagine it. It's probably even 9/11 might have been orchestrated by something like that. Like they knew if you could build this building and do this at this time, like you could usher in all this other stuff possibly.
Yeah, or like they pre-program like the plane crashes to cause like X amount of havoc. Like like every so amount of planes are like just set to crash like
Maybe.
randomly just to create like fucking a fucking butterfly effect scenario. You know, uh, you know, they could be doing tons of stuff. They could be putting people on planes and stuff. I see a lot of stuff. I think one of the most obvious things is population control, because it seemed like a lot of the shit like where they try to spread gay stuff or transgender stuff, that's obviously population control. And I feel like they admit certain things about changing the sexual mores based on not eugenics but dysgenics, just getting rid of people every now and then.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of that gay agenda for sure. I mean, there's a lot to it, but again, it all seems to everything that's out there like that. It's like to oppose God. Everything is opposed to the natural order. So with the sex and everything, or gender, I should say, now they want to have you go against, and go to war against like your God given gender and everything like that. To me, that's what the system that they have created or are creating, I should say. It's just everything is like an antichrist type thing, right? It's like a complete opposite of the natural order. Even man and women, women, they got programmed now to be, oh, you're a boss bitch and everything. You're a bad bitch, a boss bitch. You don't need a man and everything. The men are becoming more and more feminized and everything like that. So the man and woman are supposed to be separate, and then they come together in harmony. And now it's like the roles have reversed. So now men and women can't even come together anymore. It's like a magnet that repulses against itself now because the gender roles have been inverted.
Yeah, and that's one of the main things in Gnosticism that comes up, that's very interesting, or in Hermeticism too, where they have this fundamental dualism between like male and female forces, and they try to promote that. And you see that even the kind of like the Aaron Gauchi guy or whatever on that one podcast with the Jack Talcott guy. He was even talking about like combining the sexual energies and stuff like that. And I think this is where people get into like a weird, like, I think it is linked to a fundamental deception of like trying to make I guess what it is trying to introduce women into society as men, if I could put it in its most fundamental or basic way. And then I think what that does is it creates a sort of a man that is super concerned with making money, and also with his looks, a type of city type of man. And that's not a person that's kind of more used to like the pastoral life, or like having a bunch of kids and taking care of a large piece of land or something like that, or protecting his family or something like that. And I do think that the fundamental issue, it comes down to patriarchy, that we have to defend that basically that it comes down to the fact that kids don't know who their fathers are. You
No. You're breaking up, bro, or you're frozen. That sucks. He was cooking. Let's give it a second, see if it's gonna come back, man. Thanks to everyone that's in here right now. Shout out to the chat. We're here live with The Machine Lies. I got the name and the title of the video. You can just click it. It's like a hyperlink. You can just click it to go to his page and subscribe. I don't know if you can hear me, bro, but your thing totally froze. So I don't know if you can drop out and come back in. Or let me try to do it for him. No, it's just black screen. Yo, no way. I'm gonna see if he'll come back. We'll give him a second. Give him a couple minutes here. But yeah. Yo, he's already back.
Yo,
All
my
right, my
bad.
man. Yeah, you just like completely froze for a second.
Yeah, let me plug in my laptop on the charger here real quick.
Yeah, no problem. Do your thing. So yeah, again, make sure it's at the Machine Lies 9534. Yeah, the AI went haywire. Daniel Luna said. Bernie says they're trying to create a lost generation. Yeah, for sure. The glowy's got him. Beholder said. Got to plug in the laptop about to overheat. Spitting too much fire. Go back here. Let's bring this dude back up. There we go. Halftime show.
Yeah, can y'all hear me?
Yeah. So where it froze was you said it's time. We need to protect the patriarchy.
Yeah, that's another reason why I think that there's a fundamental a connection with a lot of different cultural and also religious frameworks, because I think uh, that kids need to know who their fathers are, especially. And I think that that's one of the things in society that's missing, is that the feminists want to promote kind of a society where the women have rights over the kids. And I think that that's fundamentally destructive to the society, because it could engineer a society where a woman could have multiple sexual partners and then give birth to a child, and the child doesn't know who his father is, and that creates a society full of kids who don't know who the fuck their daddy is. And if you look at people who commit crimes, they do come from families people with broken families, and they come from societies that are ridden with debt. And I think that's another thing that religious lifestyle protects, is once you have a family or a community um lifestyle, you understand that trust is better than gold, and that you have to rely on other people, the kindness and the righteousness of other people, and doing actions that are based on good relations, and that's not actually based on wealth, and that your security in life is not based on wealth, how many women you can get, and all that type of all those types of situations.
And then ultimately, like you said, protect the patriarchy. Like to me, ultimately, like it's the man's fault for letting everything get this way, right? Like the men
Yeah.
can't, but they allowed it to happen. Like
Oh
ultimately.
yeah. I think there is a fundament, and that's where it comes to the belief system of the people who are promoting feminism, that it came down the pipes, that there was men who were promoting it. Like if you look at people like Bertrand Russell, who promoted the scientific outlook, basically his father was like a cuckold, letting another dude live in the house with his wife and shit, and his mother was one of the major suffragettes of the time. She was like one of the major voices for women's liberation. So it came from the top tier elite. I mean, you look at Bertrand Russell, his daddy's the prime minister, and he's known as like one of the top philosophers. of our age. He's like arguing with the Christians and stuff, and you see that people who promote science promote atheism. you know and that there's a clear link between those two things. And I think that that is one. It's one thing where you promote science where you might not know, which is basically philosophical. Um, you know, it's philosophically not making any statements about God, and then you take that to promote atheism. I mean, that's kind of a strange project in the world. And I think linked to that is a project that they want the children of the society to belong to the state. And
I think
that's what,
ultimately, yeah, they do.
yeah, and I
The
think that's what.
woman's the intermediary for right now, the way that it'll default to the woman, but eventually it'll just default to the state, and I think that's where they do wanna go. Here's a
Yeah, and
good
that's.
question, I think. What do you think of this fed up Southern girl ass? Is there any going back as far as, like, to a patriarchal society? Do you think that's possible?
Well, I think the first step is to get the kids out of the public school system. If there's anything such as going back, and then I think the second step would be to stop communicating via machines or to organize communities so that we can communicate face to face, where you can't ghost someone. Like I say in my writings, you can't ghost someone in a village. So I think like really we need to bring back some type of village, setting where we can have a community of trustworthy people, or something like that set up. But I think really it comes first through re-education, because there's no going back if people are just going to continue on with because I think there is a fundamental I think just basic ideas of how the system is run. Like I don't think most people realize, like, or are asking a question like if there's any real dialectic between religion or science, between religion on the one hand and science on the other hand. Or I don't think they are necessarily armed with the tools to even ask that question, you know so I think that's where the problem starts.
Yeah, I think it could go back. I think it could, but I think the chances are slim that people are just way too dumbed down. The people are way too comfortable, like, well, like you talked earlier about, like, you need to go back to, like, the founding fathers' way of thinking. Well, these people are way too soft to do that. You see, America has all the guns, and it's useless, right? And then no one's gonna ever do anything, no matter what. I can't imagine one scenario of government overreach where these people would actually go do something. The only way I could ever imagine them doing it is if Daddy Trump came out and said, "You people do this now, like, take up arms against your government or something." I think then they would do it, but without some like authority figure telling them. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't ever see it.
Well, I think if it keeps going the way it does, then I think there's two really clear options that a lot of intelligent people have worked out, and I think that I don't know if I go with some of them, but they say that either it'll just continue on this way and it'll just get really fucking weird to where this present reality will become completely unrecognizable from where we'll be at, or we'll go back to the way things were, because the way the system is run right now is just gonna fucking collapse at some point. And like at least the technological world won't be there in the future, and that it's going to be like a medieval future, you know type of, like, we're going to go back to like horses and shit.
Uh, I always wonder about like how did they get the people off of the farms? Like the people had the family farm back in the day. Well, I mean, I think they created the cities, right? And then like an easy, cushy little job where you wouldn't have to bust your ass like you did on the farm all day every day, and they'd pay you money. And the allure of like the city, the nightlife, and everything that comes with it, the technology, the radios, TVs, and everything. But I just don't know how they. It seems so obvious to us now, I guess, to see like where we're at, and the answer to it would be like farming and everything, like your family owning the farm, and it's just blows my mind that these people were able to get them off the farm. And you look at what's going on in India the last couple years too. Now that like the government's always going after the farmer and everything over there too now. And those farmers fight back over there.
Well, I think the main thing that did it was the industrial farming. Because once you sort of implemented the industrial farming, they couldn't really compete with people because they kind of invented this system. It's interesting because the dude who invented synthetic farming is called Fritz Haber, and and he actually invented Zyklon B, but and they gave him a Nobel Prize for inventing synthetic nitrogen fertilization because like he was able to introduce synthetic nitrogen to he took petroleum and introduced it to ammonium nitrate, which they use for like explosive bombs and shit. And once you took petroleum and put it on ammonium nitrate, you could get synthetic nitrogen out of it. And then you could put that nitrogen into the soil and just keep it fertilized year round. So they created synthetic fertilizer with this nitrogen fertilization, and that caused them to basically create a new level of like food system where they were able to create like fucking huge plantations, and they were able to keep them on year round, you know. And it's actually poison because the fucking nitrogen seeps into the fucking water supply and shit, and then it kills the fishes and shit. but yeah.
Yeah, that shit's wild.
Yeah, it's fucking weird, but I think industrial farming is the shit because it's like yeah, obviously as you mentioned, the cities are big because the cities are like a hub of not only international culture, but they're a hub of international culture usually because they're a hub of international trade. The city, they bring in shit from all around the world so they can fucking sell it. And the cities are like usually around the ports, which are like around so they bring in foreign cultural influences and like new technologies and shit. And then people go, oh shit, look at this shit. And that's actually what America's based on, because America's like, because like Andrew Jackson and shit, like he was like just worried about like how the fuck can I get more tea and shit, to the people and shit, and like get more taxes, and how can we make the tax system more efficient and shit. And they knew like that the fucking country is like a business to a certain extent. Like if you read the Federalist Papers, they're kind of innovative because they're like fucking America's like about enterprise, like it's like a business and shit. Like that, it's funny.
Sorry, I'm just reading these comments here, man. Got a lot of people. 82 in the chat. Shout out, man.
Oh shit.
Do you think that America, as being like created as being the melting pot, do you think it's even possible for it to succeed? Like you yourself said, you consider yourself to be an American, or do you think it's just too much dueling cultures for that to ever be like a long-term viable solution?
I think like there will be some sort of shit that takes place like on the back of like what is America, or like the concept of America has been constantly shifting. I mean, you see like America like from 1700 to 1800, it's a totally different fucking beast. And then after World War II, it's totally different. When it became a world power, it became on a totally different fucking stage. And some might say that like when they put like the after the 1900s, like it totally fucking changed. You know, it became part of a world system, like the fucking League of Nations type of shit. But like in the 1800s, the federal government took over. You know, whereas like the states had more rights in the pre-existing union that they had. You know, they tried to defend against the you know, a strong federal constitution. And that's why I think it's interesting, because like there was all these motherfuckers who wrote against the federal union when they first made the federal union. Like there was all these people who wrote, like like they had the Federalist Papers, and then they had the Anti-Federalist Papers. And you could look up like the shit that they say in the Anti-Federalist Papers is actually kind of based, you know. It's like they're like, oh, like, you know, like you can't make like a country that's too big and then it's run by like a central authority like way the fuck over there that doesn't even communicate with the people who are like in the state and shit. You know, like they were complaining about the size of the federal, the country and shit, like how like power has to be broken up into smaller parts, you know, so it could really be decentralized. And I think that that's actually for real true, because like compared to the people who wrote the Anti-Federalist Papers, like they were like the conservatives of the time, and they thought of the founding fathers as like the liberals of the time and shit.
Dang.
so so it's interesting, like, you know, because like you know, people think Thomas Paine, you know, Thomas Paine is like so radical that he left like the constant like the founding fathers behind and joined the French Revolution. But like fucking um like the Anti-Federalists, like they wanted to stay here and like keep them, like make America great again. You know what I'm saying? You know, so like they were for real like the true patriots in a way. And I feel like people like that will, you know, sort of make a resurgence, you know, or figure out what America's really about, you know.
Do you do you foresee any kind of like civil war in America? I think definitely the media wants to try to stir some shit up like that, but I don't know if it would ever like
Yeah.
go hot. I'm not sure.
Yeah, there's definitely some type of you know, pressure from the media in order for like the helter skelter like
Right.
situation.
Like race war type shit or something.
Yeah, to pop off. And I think it might be and also I see like the Christian nationalism thing seeing a potential rise. I see even Alex Jones saying like he's a Christian nationalist. And I
Yeah,
think that
they're pushing that border story right now with all those like immigrants piling up at the border. Like it's obviously they're trying to get like, like quote unquote patriots to come down there and handle it themselves. But like I said, I think America is so pacified and lazy. I don't know if people would ever mobilize like that.
yeah, I think it just goes to like who's gonna end up being the moral majority. And I think like it is strange that more and more people are listening to like Alex Jones and stuff, and that he's became a household name, and now he's espousing like Christian nationalism and that sort of thing. And obviously it is sort of fake. And that's where I think the danger, but also the solution is, because it's like in on the one end, America is being collapsed by liberal values, so it needs to go back to its religious roots. But on the other end, those people are like kind of foreseeing that about to happen, and then hijacking the religious conscience through people that are totally fake Christians. And I
Yeah,
think
that's
that yeah,
I agree with you on that. I think
yeah,
that's Donald Trump's role too. I think you'll see him become more and more as he gets out here in this second if he runs again. Like I think you'll see him more and more like Christian, openly praying and stuff like that, like where he wasn't really in the first term. But I mean,
and that's
totally
what
fake
made
Yankee, like real estate mogul degenerate, and then they're gonna promote him as like, oh, this is your Christian leader, basically.
Yeah, and that's what made Krakow so great, because he was right on the forefront of, because he was somebody who was
Shout out to Davy Crackle.
yeah, yeah, because he was like sort of conservative minded on the one end, but then he also saw through the deception of the alt right kind of conservative values, and how it's actually at the top tier, and it is going up to like Joe Rogan and stuff, and I see like Joe Rogan kind of promoting this kind of fake macho where they kind of like have a kind of male centered sort of philosophy, but it's totally irreligious. It's like devoid of religion. So it's like macho philosophy, or like warrior philosophy that's like has no religious ideal. And you kind of see this in the movies too, where like you kind of see this fucking like hero that like wakes up and like he's had like a one night stand, and he's like all like hungover and shit, and he like brushes this fucking horror off, and he's like, I gotta go fight crime now. And it's like, this motherfucker has nothing to live for, nothing to die for, doesn't believe in anything. Why the fuck is he gonna go save people now? You know what I mean? It's only motherfuckers who believe in some shit, have a family, who have something to live for and die for, that are gonna stand up and protect their fucking communities. And that's not what's being shown. It's like this kind of like Joe Rogan type of figure that's like really tough, but tough to what extent? Like tough just for self improvement, not tough towards like any goals towards society or civilization.
Yeah, and that's the people that they push out there, Andrew Tate and shit, a kickboxer and shit like that. Like
Yeah, I
that's
hate that motherfucker. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
that
he's so
motherfucker.
fake.
Yeah, that's a house Negro. Type of fucking. I don't even know.
I mean, it's obviously fake, and then it's about blows my mind like how many people fall for it. But that's how desperate and like thirsty these kids are, like young men, for some kind of like father figure almost. You know what I mean? It doesn't really matter what he's even saying. It's kind of the way he's saying it.
Yes, I mean you got to really wonder, with people like that. I think it's really like they want to promote like pseudo religious thinkers, like Andrew Tate and Jordan Peterson, that are kind of like trying to bring in this, like if you look at like a lot of shit that like people like Andrew Tate or like some of the Islamic figures that they promote in the media, it's not really Islam. It's kind of like Sufi shit. It's like this like mystical shit, version of Islam and stuff. That's not really about following any rules or understanding that God made the universe or preserved society through certain deeds and misdeeds and all this kind of stuff. That there's a kind of a universal order to things, but then they kind of figure that there's kind of this that the religious faculty is only based on self improvement and sort of rediscovering your self, or and also canceling out your ego, and kind of like this kind of like weird notion that like you know that all of these that society or culture is based on your own experiences, and that you're creating your own experiences. um and I think that that is kind of a self kind of like they say, be mindfulness, being mindfulness. And I think that that is just a ploy to just cop out. I think it's an auto suggestion mode, and they're trying to promote this kind of like total freeze frame, self-involved, kind of hyper focus, on kind of getting rid of your own ego or surpassing your own ego, or recreating your own experiences. That it's kind of like a you know, I guess it's a way to keep people into a false sense of spirituality. I call it techno Buddhism. I see like a lot of this, like you know,
I can see that. That's a lot of the like Gnostic type people I was talking about before. They're kind of in like into the Buddhist shit. They'll even say like, "Oh well, Jesus and the Buddha, it's the same person," and shit like that.
yeah, that is. I think that is one. I think the Buddhist thing is one of the fundamental parts of the deception, because when they try to merge the kind of ontological nihilism of Buddhism with Christianity, because that is, I think, a real danger, because I'm coming from an Indian background myself, and I know, like, gurus have been scamming people for centuries. You know what I'm saying? So like when they come up in the West, like it's already like obvious to people like me that these cats are gonna scam people. But it seemed like it's like you see like Sam Harris and like Yuval Harari and like all these types of people, like they're promoting Buddhist practices, and I think they're doing it for a reason.
You think there's like money behind it or something?
I just think it's like the characteristic of like Buddhism itself, like because like it's such an open-ended philosophy, because it's really philosophical in a way, because the Buddhist thinkers are kind of like philosophers from northern Pakistan. So it's actually people who look like me, and who created this shit. So I mean, but this type of stuff is really what it is that the idea that there's no self, that you're impermanent, that there's actually no essence to anything, that everything is non-existence until proved otherwise. Everything's just an aggregate of things. Once pulled apart strand by strand, they're actually separate things, and you can't collectivize anything. There's no collection to anything, you know and I think that that's sort of what they call mereological nihilism. That there's no such thing as you know groups of things or ideas of things. That there's no such thing as an idea. You know,
You
and that
think
every
that would be ideal for these people if they want to like usher in communism?
Hell yeah. And if they go that enlightenment is actually seeing that reality is an illusion, and that you can actually reach enlightenment by seeing that yourself and society is illusion, and that everything is change. Well, they promote everything is change because they promote futurism. So like everything is change because like it's all about like what's coming up next. So they trying to get this constantly shifting goalpost, try to pull the fucking um floor out from under your feet, kind of while you're lifting yourself up by your own bootstraps in this game of self-improvement. Like fucking I think enlightenment is one of the most dangerous concepts, and I think the fact that enlightenment could be linked to something like salvation. I think that's dangerous. Like that's, you
Is
know,
it? Don't you think enlightenment is like a very like egoic thing, and then they're
yeah, like why would you want to like become better than everyone, like become enlightened, like become a next stage of humanity? And if you were, then wouldn't you want to help people become enlightened, or are you just involved in yourself? That's like people who have like secret knowledge. It's like you're either lying that you have secret knowledge to get attention, or you show people the secret knowledge you have so that you could prove to them what a fucking great person you are. But the fact that you have fucking secret knowledge and you're not sharing it to take advantage of the fact that these fucking great things, It's like, so like Gnosticism on its own premise is fake, because Gnosticism is based on the belief that like y- you could reach enlightenment based off of knowledge. And it's like, who the fuck has this knowledge? And why, and why should they have it? Why should we trust them with it?
Yeah, that's the people, man, we've been dealing with lately, these past couple months here, trying to move on from that and talk to different people like you. Might reach out to like Days of Noah or something, see if you ever wanted to get up or something. I want to talk to like the different people. EBT here in the chat says enlightenment feeds directly into transhumanism.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, I
definitely where
mean,
they want to go.
it's like they try to hijack this religious concept that you have to die of this world in order to be reborn. And then they try to say like, okay, well, you have to die while you're still alive and then transcend your own body, and reach like the next stage. So there's this whole concept of like dying of the body, which is sort of like transforming yourself into information. And they kind of hijack on this, piggyback on this concept too. So they've already hijacked transcendental philosophy. So you can't use transcendental philosophy against them, because because they've literally, taken that shit, over already, and used it and prescribed, precisely the way I described. But yeah, Days of Noah, man, Days of Noah is a
He's
real.
shouted me out a couple times. I'm sure he
Yeah,
watches, man. So shout out to Days, man. He said he knew was working with, or at one time was planning to get up with Davy Crocco, and I had heard Crocco say that a few times. He's like, I'm working on getting Days of Noah on here and stuff like that, and then it just never
yeah,
happened, and Days confirmed that. So Days, if you're watching, man, everyone's days are short, man. Hit me up, and we could link up or something. That'd be tight.
yeah. There's a couple people out here. I think Days of Noah would be a really interesting dude, because he's coming at it from a religious perspective too.
Right. That's earlier too when we were talking about like, is there any way to like reverse this trend? I think what I wanted to say and I forgot was like the man has to go back to the patriarchy. The man has to become obedient to God first, I think, and then the man could get his household in order and everything. And then if you could help your community, get a little bit in order with other men, but it all has to start with the man, and the man's just been so trampled on for so long. A lot of these men don't even, like, especially the younger men, they don't realize that it's like all the duty of the man to do all this.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that fundamental to what they talk about, like that there's like feminism, I think that there's also a crisis of manhood, and it's coming from like extended adolescence.
Oh yeah,
Type of,
they call
yeah.
it Peter Pan syndrome. They
Yeah.
keep you in like watching sports and everything for so long. Marvel movies is like grown ass adults. Marvel movies, Disney adults, and everything like that. And then you're, I think that directly feeds into the homosexual agenda too, because it's like their mindset is like very childlike and malleable, and to them, I don't think they really realize that it's just a way for them to prolong that kind of having to accept the responsibility of a family and their role in society and everything, because they're still in like a childlike mind. So I think that's part of the reason they push that, like Peter Pan syndrome.
Yeah, there's definitely like a whole tons of dudes out there that seem to be focused on, and I think it also comes with focusing on your career too much, and not enough on having a family, developing a family early on in life, and having that kind of support early on in life, because
Right.
people want to make money, and then their first instincts once they get that money is is to spend it on evil things, you know. So I mean, your instinct once you make all this money and you're exposed to all these work environments with all these women, because the women are being trained to go to work too. So I think that's the problem. First of all, is just a work environment that women are being trained to go to work. So the value of a man is essentially in society is just equal to a woman, and I think
It's
that
been cut in half. Yeah, immediately cut in half right there.
yeah. Yeah, so I think that that makes a and I think that that's a fundamental consequence of the industrial revolution, because they had to double the workforce by getting the women to go into the factories, and the way they did that was they promoted feminism, and and this is a well-known fact of today, that it didn't just happen because people to a certain extent, it coupled very nicely with the fact that people wanted to erode religious principles, that this shift in society just seemed to happen, where they also needed to double the workforce. So it just happened that the people who are planning society seem to have think that this was a way to do all that, and that to
It
go.
leads to what you talked about too, like the eventually the children becoming a warden of the state too, because now both parents are working. So who's watching the kids? It's a daycare now, or the school, which is the state. Eventually, it'll just they want it to be. I think you just like hand the kids over to a state.
Yeah, the sons need to be going to work with their father and participating in the family business, or at
Yeah.
least that's how it used to be.
Back in the day, I heard it was like if the woman there was like no divorce and shit, right? Like if the woman wanted to leave, she was free to leave, but all the kids stayed with the man. That's just how it was. And then she would be like shamed. She'd have to go to another town and like not tell people she was like still married or anything like that. Like then they made the divorce. So I was the victim of a I shouldn't say victim, but I mean I kind of the divorce. I got married when I was young. I had 2 girls when I was young, and, they're grown adults now, and, I got just murdered in the divorce, and my ex-wife kind of has, like, feminist views and all the normal, like, TV programming type thing, so I was, like, really, like, into that. I wasn't into that particularly, but I was just, like, not thinking about anything really back then. I was just kinda, like, doing my own thing, not having any thoughts. But then once I got into God and everything, and then I was blessed to meet my wife, now I just had 2 more little boys, like, they're both one's almost 1 and one's almost 2, so that's my plan on how to, like, kind of fight back on this system is I had boys, raise them to believe in God and raise them and show them the things that I was raised without a father and everything, so that's my contribution here, I guess, is all I can do for right now.
Yeah, well, I think you're really blessed for that, because really that you see it that way. First of all, when most people don't, but also that there's another sense in which that they are promoting a sort of agenda that is kind of post-human, and that says that humanity is like the cause and the solution for its own problems. And I do see like the transhumanist kind of thing, like the first thing about it is misanthropic, because you want humanity to be surpassed. And like one of these guys, Ben Goetzel, actually called the AI the successor intelligence. And this guy Marvin Minsky said that AI will that the future will be run by robots, that they'll totally control society, but the good thing will be that these machines will be our children. And I thought that's not really progeny. That's not really legacy. Is to have your kind of uh, uh, your destiny or things, or your future be locked up in these machines. They kind of have a view that humanity can't succeed on its own or something like that. And I take a much different view that a lot of these atheists and stuff will say, why have babies? Because like the world is so bad, the world is
Yeah,
so
I hear that a
shitty.
lot actually.
Yeah, the world is so shitty that you shouldn't have babies, or why should you bring babies into the world? Well, the best way that you can influence change in the world is to teach a kid the right way. Because every change, a big change that happened in the world came from a single individual who's willing to take responsibility. You move one grain of sand, you change the world for real, because there is a butterfly effect to things. And I think that one person who talks to hundreds of people, that's why I started making videos. And nobody watches the machine lies videos. But the thing is
Hopefully
is
that
that
it will tonight. They'll come subscribe. Make sure you guys go
thank,
subscribe.
thank you, Drew. I appreciate that. But just if they get up on the message there, I mean, it'll be a little bit more you know uh directed towards a positive future for humanity, or trying to look at that actually something positive for the youth, or trying to involve the youth in some sort of community project, and actually show. And that's one of the things that I saw that actually Ted Kaczynski said that I really liked, when my professor pushed him on population control. Because he said, "Oh, all these problems are happening in the world, and it's because the states are too large and there's too many people." And he said, "Yeah, but how are you going to change it? You have to make a baby that believes the shit that the system doesn't believe." So like that's the only way you're actually going to change things. By not having kids, you almost eliminate yourself from the process. so yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I hear that even like in these chats here and stuff, there's certain people that say that like there's no way they could bring a baby into this type of world and stuff like that. And it's like you gotta you gotta be that shit. I'm probably too old now, but I can teach these kids. At the very least, I can teach them to not kind of get in that same trap I got into, where it was like I had the kids too young with an ungodly woman, right? Like if I can at least teach them that, like they'd be in a way better spot than I'm at right now at my age.
Yeah, I mean, I heard this quote one day that it said it was by Saint Augustine, but I don't, I can't confirm that it's from Saint Augustine. But it said, "Foolish is the man who sends his son to school to learn what the teacher thinks." And I think that that's
Right.
for real. One of the major problems in the world, is like
I mean, these
that
are
that
these are literally strangers. You're sending your kids to strangers for 8 hours a day. It's insane
yeah.
when you think about that. No real skills or anything. Like they're just to a point. They learn to read and do the math, but to a point, it's like a lot of wasted time. Where I think it'd be better for these kids to be doing some kind of a job or something, doing some kind of little bit of labor or something. Be good for them rather than sitting here with like a tranny teacher teaching them gender studies and stuff like that. I'll
Yeah.
definitely be homeschooling my boys for sure. Well, my wife will be, I should say.
Yeah, my grandpa just died. He was like almost 100 years old. And he I was telling my mom one day about this like fucked up dream I had. And then he walks up to me and he goes, I still have a dream. That I'm going to work on the bull cart. and he said that he got a job in the city, being an accountant or something, and he had to ride from the village to his job in a cart that's pulled by two bulls. so so I mean that was only I think my grandpa was like 96. God rest his soul. He passed
Rest in
on,
peace.
and and um and I mean that's just shocking for somebody to experience, because I think my grandpa was like one of the first people in our family to get a uh, to get a computer and to move to America, and to do all these things, and he was definitely obsessed with the future and the changes of the world. But for somebody to just be riding on a bull cart to work, you know in their 20s, and then be clicking on a computer or using a cell phone, later in life, I mean that must be a crazy shock to endure, what essentially is, you know the most amount of technological change uh, anybody the world has ever experienced in one lifespan. you know
Right. Do you think that trend will continue, or do you think that's kind of like it won't be that exponential anymore for
I
like
think
our
that
generations?
I think that just the effect that it's had between now, because just seeing to where, like, I first had a cell phone when I was in high school, and I remember I have a baby brother who's 16 years old now. He's in high school now, and just when he was a baby, he was just using a tablet computer. He always had the tablet in his hand since being a baby
Yeah, that's
till
crazy.
now. And he edits the show The Machine Lies, but like I couldn't edit that shit. Like I don't know how the fuck to use a computer even, but these guys are, they literally grew up with the tablet in their hands. I mean I think that just this next generation, I think they're totally fucking warped, like they have totally warped views on reality. I mean, talking to my 16-year-old brothers, like, it's like, what world is this cat living in? It's like fucking, you know.
Like you said, like you advocated for more like in-person meetups too. They don't even have that, right? Like all of their communication, their whole life has pretty much been through phone, like virtually or whatever. Like as a kid, we would go to the kids' houses, play, ride the bike or whatever. Like they don't even. I think they play the video games online. They're sitting at home, playing against each other nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, these kids are taking, designer drugs in the schools, So like,
What, like what?
like my brother's talking about, like, kids buying and selling all types of vape pens and stuff, and they got DMT in these vapes.
Damn,
And then these kids are vaping the DMT, and
damn,
in the vape pen, and buying and selling them at the school,
that's
so
wild.
yeah, so you could basically put any combination of drugs within a vaporizer pen and just sell it to kids, and these pods are easily transportable. So I think,
Right,
like, these kids are definitely on, like, research chemicals, smoking all types of research chemicals and
that's
stuff
wild, dude.
in the
I remember
school.
hearing about DMT when I first got on the internet, maybe in like the very late '90s. There was a site called Earowid. I don't know if you've ever
Yeah,
seen it. It's all about like drugs and psychedelics and stuff, and it talked about DMT. And then I
yeah,
read about like Terrence McKenna and his DMT trips and shit. But I was
yeah.
like, I would ask people about like, you ever heard of that? No one even had heard of it then. And now, that was like right when I was out of high school. And so to hear now they're doing it right in high school, that's pretty crazy to me.
Yeah, it's interesting that website, I found out later that it was actually funded by the MAPS Institute.
The
That was
Eurowid was?
Yeah, Arrowwood is funded by MAPS Institute, which was
I don't know what that
consequent.
is. What is that?
It's like this dude, back in the day I was watching Joe Rogan, and he used to have this dude named Rick Doblin on the Joe Rogan Experience, and this dude was trying to legalize ecstasy and MDMA and stuff, and this is exactly what I was talking about, where they're trying to like get you to like go to a doctor for depression, and the doctor will like get you to like fill out these like survey and shit, and then he'll give you like MDMA or like ketamine or some shit. and like that's kind of like what they're doing now. And but the main research institute behind it was this fucking thing called the Esalen Institute. And if you
Yeah, I heard of
go,
that.
yes, yeah, the Esalen Institute is really infamous, and actually Terrence McKenna worked for the Esalen
Right. I
Institute.
was just gonna
Yeah,
say that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's interesting because like they're associated with all these guys, like Alan Watts is another figure they're associated with, and they actually promote all these ideas like spirituality and transhumanism. uh if you got I hate to say this right now, but if you guys go to Machine Lies episode 3, I
Oh,
talk
that's
about
what you're here for.
I talk about exactly this situation where the psychedelics are like linked with like where they're trying to merge science and spirituality in this Esalen Institute. It is like a really creepy type of thing where
Well, it's
yeah.
basically like they're making like you would call them like an agent, right? These people like Alan Watts and Terrence McKenna, basically like a funded like influencer for this type of these experiences. Because I would have never heard
Yeah.
about this shit if it wasn't for like Terrence McKenna.
Yeah, it's wild because one of the dudes who is into it is is Gregory Bateson, who like was one of the
He's in
dudes who,
like he's like a psychonaut or what?
yeah, he like started like the CIA, I think.
Okay.
This guy Gregory Bateson was like a fundamental pioneer in the OSS, you know, and these cats were all in the OSS. That's why there's a weird connection there, because fucking Carl Jung was an OSS agent too. If you look up like how like all these
Did you say Carl Jung?
yeah, Carl Jung. And I think that they were involved in promoting some type of like weird agenda where I don't know, the highest profile shit I saw on Esalen Institute was the fucking Century of the Self. I don't know if you guys saw Century of the Self, the documentary with Adam Curtis.
I don't even know what that is.
Oh my
That
god.
might know.
Well, if you guys look up the documentary by Adam Curtis called Century of the Self, he talks about like how the countercultural movement was like started by the CIA or whatever. He like details how it happened and all that stuff. How they like started COINTELPRO. And in the documentary, he shows this experiment by the Esalen Institute where they like go into this coven of nuns and they perform psychological experiment on this covens of nuns, and it turns all the nuns into lesbians.
The fuck?
Yeah, it's like a fucking crazy uh crazy thing. But one of the things he explains in this documentary was how this guy Edward Bernays got women to smoke. It's like very famous, you know, how he had these like rich debutantes like smoke these cigarettes in public, and then they made this sign called Torches of Freedom, and they like set this sign up called Torches of Freedom. So it was like about like feminism and like smoking cigarettes. He tied the feminist cause to smoking cigarettes and got women to smoke in this brilliant way. And yeah,
Now that's all tied to. Isn't he like Freud's nephew or something like that?
yeah,
He is,
yeah.
and then
He's
now the owner of Netflix or something is like it's from that same bloodline.
Yeah, yeah, he like basically started like the propaganda arm of the CIA, and now that Mark Bernays, the CEO of Netflix. It's actually, it's like, as you said, it's like weirdly his like grandson or whatever, or like his
The
grandnephew. I mean, yeah.
the big like thing of all that shit, like Freudism and all that fucking bullshit. It seems to all be so against the family. So that seems like the long term goal is like the
Oh
war
yeah.
against the nuclear family, like 100-year plan or more, probably, to have to remove religion from people and remove the dad out of the home and deconstruct the family.
Yeah, because they had kind of like a project within, because they have two parallel projects. Like one is like Fabian socialism, where they like found out like, oh, like basically you can't dethrone like the political or economic system in a country, that basically capitalism is like too powerful. So they decided that actually society, that central control, or like engineering a population, is only possible if you get rid of the family, because you can't get rid of the state, or the economic system. That's like not going to happen. So they said, actually, we need to re-engineer the family, and the family needs to belong to the state. And the way we do that is by changing the sexual mores. And they thought that the sexual mores would have to be changed, and then they have this kind of one side project where they promote this postmodern type of thing. But people don't really understand what that is, because like Freud and Marx were like kind of linked into this thing of like two-headed dragon of like Freudo-Marxian. Like if you like gonna explain it to like babies, you'd be like, well, it's like Freudo-Marxian, or whatever,
I got a question here from Neurojack. Appreciate you. But he says,
Yeah,
who do you
Neurojack is
think's
my
behind
homie.
this agenda, best estimation? Who do you think's like
Yeah,
pulling the strings?
first of all, shout out to Neurojack. That's my homie right there, Neurojack. Yeah, that's a good friend of mine. I mean, I'd like to think that we're good friends. I've had a few long conversations with him, but yeah, I think it's very interesting to propose that that that's why I think it's interesting when people say like they all the time, because it's like,
Yeah.
who
Who's
who
they?
the who the fuck is
I
they?
always
I
press
hate.
people on that. Who is they?
Yeah, who is they? And I hear you saying that, brother Drew, and I think that that is one of the main things that I feel like, yo, like who is they? And I think that one of the main things that people have to face now is that like a machine really doesn't have like a face or a name, or somebody that's actually carrying something out on behalf of somebody is no different than somebody who does it. Is because like the world of the machine leads to total sense of arbitration, where like you push a button, and then the thing is what's doing the task. It's not you that's doing it. So there's this sense of removal when there's a visual system, and you think of that system as a technological edifice. So you're like one step removed from the process itself. And I think that's like one the loss of agency, I think, is really visceral. But like when somebody, I mean when somebody says like there's all these changes happening in society, like I said, like fucking, like, Freudo Marxianism. I mean, it's not for an average person to understand these things, but I think like the fundamental shift, like once it gets to the average person, they don't see like the hand behind that shit, the fucking unseen hand behind that shit. So like I think to blame the average person is fucking equally fucked as like just blaming some amorphous entity. So I think that we have to be more discerning, but I think a good place to start is to notice that a useful idiot in today's age is just as dangerous as a bad actor, you know. So that shifts the moral culpability. you know,
Right.
you know, you know.
I would say Satan is behind it. That's what I would say.
Yeah, there's a big impetus to that. But I think
Yeah.
that one way that Satan controls things, and I think one of the main things that he uses to control things is that, as I said, like the devil is in the details, you know. So I feel like the system doesn't reconstitute reality because reality is controlled by God, you know. So all the system does is it reorganizes nature. So this fucking is the fundamental aspect of the deception, is that people think that nature is being fundamentally changed through their experience with technology, but actually like fucking like nothing fundamental is being altered by, the lies of the fucking machine. Like it's just a fucking total edifice that's just like one of the questions I like to ask people is technology a filter or a screen? You know what I mean? For information,
To me, it seemed like what, like a screen, right? Like it's like an overlay almost. Like a when you get in the box too, though, it's like you go like dimensionally downward almost. When like we're here inside of this, everything's happening inside of this uh, synthetic environment right now. I don't know. Like you said though, yeah, nothing is really changing, right, in the natural order of things.
Yeah, so I feel like somebody said, organization is the devil, and I feel like that is for real. Like one of the main things is that um, you know, uh, like how they say like knowledge is knowing the difference between good and evil, but wisdom is like knowing what to do with that information. So like I think like people don't know how to apply, truth, and that's because that once find a piece of truth on the ground, it's reorganized as soon as you find it, so that it has to be put in recontextualized, and once you recontextualize it you really lose it, you know so where like like I think like there has to be truth apart from fucking organization, or really like organization that's based on technique. I think that one of the things that people said, like, or like smart, people that are probably much smarter than myself said like that it's not really technology, but it's like technique, or like the mindset of like technique itself, that you could trust a process to do something for you, instead of like trusting, personal agency, or something like that, that there's a lack of trust there.
That's where the corporations come into play, right? It's all just processes. Everything's game down to a process in there.
Yeah,
It's really
and, and they always talk about how like a corporation is like, essentially it's like a head, a snake without a head, type of thing, that, like how they say like what's good for the company, you know? And it's like at a certain extent, like there's the needs of the company, you know, outweigh the needs of the individual, and you can imagine like a CEO that has a corporation that he puts a system in place to run the corporation, and then the CEO gets replaced, but the system that runs the corporation stays in place. So it's not really the person that's running the thing; it's just a self-governing fucking entity, and that's what it is. Like a system is a process that's made up of a lot of individual level processes. So it's like a meta, like to a certain degree, like human society is something that is like, obviously, like whatever sense people have about America, or whatever people have like sense about, like, the world, or God, or whatever, it's going to define their individual actions. So this is like the way that just like, like, I guess, like, ideas like are powerful, like I remember like watching a documentary on the Unabomber, and like the fucking dude who like runs the library in like Lincoln, Montana, was like hey, like, it's fucked up that I like lent this dude books, and then he used these books to like make these like fucking bombs. And he's like, I kind of feel responsible for like this dude doing what he did. And I was like, and I was like, that is a dark thought, that like just books are dangerous, just like libraries are dangerous. A librarian is dangerous. You know what I mean? Right? Like, it's kind of like, it goes back to like, well, who do you blame? If that guy blames himself, it's like this, the fact that there's books in a library that you could use to make a bomb. Is that the library's responsibility? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think it is, but that's where you see that all throughout history and book burning and everything like that. It's definitely interesting. Well, brother, we're at 2 hours here now, so I think I'm gonna shut it down. I think we're at a good spot. I'd love to do it again. Everyone go subscribe to the Machine Lies. If on the title of the video, that's just you should just be able to click his name and it'll send you over
Thank
there.
you.
It's got a lot of content over there. I've seen you out in these other panels too. You're always out in these panels doing your thing. I think EBT is gonna go live right after this. I'm gonna dump all these viewers into EBT stream. I'll probably jump in there myself for a little bit. Gotta go to bed about a half hour. I don't know.
Oh
You're
yeah.
invited to come over too if you want, Machine, but
Yeah, for sure.
up to
Let's
you.
get it popping. Yeah.
All right, man. Well, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it, bro. You want to plug your book real quick?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Shit. Trying to find if I have a fucking copy of it somewhere around here.
See if I
Shit.
can find the link quick.
Yeah. I mean, shit. Yeah. If you want to just talk about something for 30 seconds, I'll run and
Yeah,
grab it
no
real quick.
problem.
Yeah.
Big show over at EBT's next. So go to the Enslaved by Truth channel. He's gonna try to get the Benton gun show video where Benton digs through his ammo and guns in a storage locker. He thinks he may have that video tonight. I'm gonna jump over there for the first half hour. Machine Lies may be coming over. Up to him. Here's the book that he wrote here. It's
Yo,
available
here's
on Amazon.
Yeah, here's a book I wrote. It's anti, religion, anti philosophy, and anti science. so, so I go against everybody there. Yeah.
And they just find it on Amazon.
Yeah, that's right. You could probably find it on Amazon or Barnes and Nobles or whatever
I'll,
websites
I'll
they
put a
have.
link in the description after this video
Yeah.
ends. I'll have to find the link.
Yeah, and I'll
And
be
then,
releasing part 2 of that lecture soon. I know it's been a minute since I put that lecture up, and I put part 1 up, but there is a part 2 to that shit. So yeah,
all right, man. All right, well, I'm going to shut it down. I appreciate you for being here. I'll see you over
yeah.
at
Thank you,
EBT's if you
Drew.
come over there.
Yeah, yeah. It was a great conversation. Yeah,
Yeah, loved it anytime, man.
yeah. You have a
Love
blessed
to do
one.
it again. Peace out.
Yeah, for sure. If I don't see you.